Good afternoon, everybody. This is just the preliminaries to a show that we are going to do about water. The show will be done by tenantsmen coming from the Fact Centre at Wood Street in Liverpool. People that we're going to invite on this show are people from the United Utilities, which is our local water utility, people from Ofwat, who are supposed to control what the United Utilities is doing, members of Parliament, somebody from the National Consumer Council who do seem to have the best interests of the public at heart, tenants associations, members of the press, Liverpool Senior Citizens Forum, and people from the Liverpool High-Rise Tenants Group who usually or formerly lived in the blocks of high-rise flats. The title to this show, for want of a better one, is The Water Fiasco. And we're using the word fiasco because we can't think of anything better that describes the water situation in England as it stands now. We are told to save water. When we do, the water companies, they are not selling enough and put their prices up. The only business sense they have is to sack thousands of workers to save money. Then they diversify to the world of big business and lose millions of pounds. The fat cat bosses and shareholders don't suffer, they just charge more for the water. I became involved in the water fiasco because of my son. He spends a lot of time abroad. His mother paid his bills and after some time realised that she was paying for something that did not get used. She asked for a water meter to be fitted into his flat, which is on the second floor of a 15-storey block of flats. United Utilities could not fit a meter. She then asked for the water to be disconnected. United Utilities wanted the flats to be completely bare of furniture before they would do so. They think everyone is a thief or a cheat, that you would say the flat is empty and put someone in it and use the water. They only have to check the gas and electricity bills to see if you are using the flat. My ex-wife then refused to pay the bills for something that was not getting used. United Utilities sent a letter on the 8th of July 2003 threatening court action. We are still waiting for this and look forward to our day in court. We hope one day to take our son's case to the Court of Human Rights. I can only think of one other service that you pay for and don't get, and that's the council tax. I also have a flat on the top floor, the 14th floor of a block of flats. United Utilities can't fit a water meter there either. In both cases, they want us to do the pipework at our expense so that they can fit a meter.
My name is Fred Hunt. I was on the Seeking Tenants Committee. I've been asked about water meters. They're a good thing. My new flat is water metered, and I'm paying about maybe half the money I used to pay in the old block. When we wrote to the water company, they turned around and they said that the flat was allocated for 6 people. So we were paying the water bill for 6 people. Now I'm just paying the water bill for 1 person. You know, so it's really water meters are a good idea.
My name is Zach Watton. I'm living at the moment in Victoria Settlements. And I used to live in the 3 blocks of towers further along Netherfield Road. Well, my water bill then was somewhere in the region of £29 a month, over 10 months, 290. And I find a difference with a meter installed in this block. It must be a saving of at least £100 a year.
This story was first presented on the Tenantsmen show. A lot of interest was shown, so tenantsmen have decided to take the matter further. In my son's case, and in thousands of other cases, you are expected to pay for something you are not getting. Long or short-term visits to relatives abroad or holidays abroad, you have to pay your water bill when you return. Some pensioners go abroad for the winter to save money, not to give it to the water companies. United Utilities told me it has voluntary absence, so you have to pay. In my case, living alone in a flat, I am grossly overcharged. There are over 30,000 people living alone in Liverpool. The water companies say the average person uses 160 litres of water a day. This is about 35.5 gallons. I use about 15 gallons a day, broken down as shower 4 gallons, making tea 1 gallon, dishwashing once a day 2 gallons, a toilet flush 8 gallons. I take my washing to a laundrette and mostly eat out. There is 220 gallons in a cubic metre, costing 85.40 pence. I therefore calculate that inclusive of water used, water standing charges and sewage charges, or sewage volume charges, my bill should be about £60 a year. I am paying £285.55 pence. United Utilities must be making good money out of the 30,000 people living alone in Liverpool. Not a bad business, is it? Living in a block of flats with all the processes and additives to the water, I find that the water is vile. You can't get a decent cup of tea or coffee. The cold water is so warm as to be undrinkable, and then you would want to drink it. There is a lot of information regarding water on the internet. There is too much for this programme here today, but I'll quote a few snippets. This is from NCC at a glance, which is the National Consumer Council. Just quoting a few parts of it. The actual cost of water is a small proportion of a bill, as little as 3.5%, whereas local pipe network costs are over 50%. The poorest 4 million households spend a larger proportion of their income on water than the average household, only 1%. For minimum income earners, the proportion of income spent on water rises to 6%. Up to 1/3 of water supplied to households is used in toilet flushing, unquote. Also from the National Consumer Council in Inside Housing, 19th of September 2003. Up to 50,000 people die in the UK because their homes are not warm enough, according to a report from the National Consumer Council. More than 3 million are struggling with energy bills and 4.7 million are in debt to water companies, the report claims. The charity argues that a warm and well-lit home with cooking, washing and bathing facilities, a safe water supply and a reliable sewage system are essential for anyone to function effectively in society. They say that the government has met with a shocking failure in its attempts to meet the needs of the poorest. The NCC calls on the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister to include the affordability of utilities as part of the social exclusion agenda, unquote. Which leads us on to something else I got off the internet. This is a good one. It's called Water, from the DETR 746-27, July 1999. Prescott hails water price cuts, sign of success of government policy. It's win-win-win for customers, substantially lower water prices and a better environment, Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott said today. Ian Baird, the Director General of Water Service, today proposed cuts on average of 13.7% for water and sewage bills in England and Wales in 2000 to 2001. By 2004 to 2005, average prices will still be, and I don't know what this is, it's a gate with a 38 next to it, lower in real terms than they are today, unquote. I think the 38 should be 38%. There's a lot more rubbish. The rubbish when we look at the recent announced increases in water and sewage charges. John Prescott concludes, quote, today's price cuts announcements mirrors our determination to help hard-pressed customers and to protect the environment. It is a further step in delivering our pledge to create a world-class water industry, one which must provide service in tune with customers' wishes and make its full contribution to our sustainable development objectives, unquote. What we want, Mr. Prescott, is a fairer system than what we have now. May I remind you that the poll tax was the downfall of Margaret Thatcher. The water fiasco will be the downfall of any government that doesn't fit in with the wishes of the people and address the injustice and anomalies of the present system. An Ulster Unionist Party response to water and sewage reform in Northern Ireland states, and I'll quote some of the questions and answers. Question: which categories of customers may require some degree of relief from the cost of domestic water and sewerage charges? Answer: the Ulster Unionist Party believes that low-income households, including vulnerable pensioners, and those who require high levels of water usage due possibly to medical conditions, should be granted relief through a system of rebates. Question: how can the needs and interests of these groups be protected? Answer: the interests of vulnerable groups must be protected. The Ulster Unionist Party believes that a system of rebates must be set in place before the system of charging commences in order to protect vulnerable groups. Question: do you have any views on the preliminary equality assessments of the various proposals outlined in this document? Answer: the Ulster Unionist Party is concerned that refusal to allow householders the choice of installing their own meters and thereby creating an incentive to save water use would be inherently unfair and would discourage a structure whereby people are encouraged to save on water use. We are also concerned that basing water and sewerage rates solely on house prices with no consideration of the amount of water used is unjust." Unquote. Cost of water to double. The cost of water to Merseyside householders will soar to £10 a week if the government's regulator sanctions a £3.8 billion spending programme, which apparently they have done. The cost of water to Merseyside householders will rise to £10 a week if the government's regulator sanctions a £3.8 billion spending programme, the Daily Post can reveal today. United Utilities is to submit its biggest ever investment programme to Ofwat, the industry regulator. The Warrington company, or the Warrington-based company, says it needs to spend up to £3.8 billion to meet higher drinking water and environmental standards demanded by both the British government and Europe, with domestic and business users footing the bill. For householders, it would see the year's average bill climbing from the current average of £245 to an estimated £555, or £1.51 a day by 2010. People currently paying water bills will be it even harder, making Merseyside's water amongst the most expensive in the UK. Ofwat last night said it wanted water bills to rise by no more than single digits nationally. But the regulator will not make a final decision on United Utilities' plans until November of next year, which now is this year, when a figure for what it can charge customers will be announced. United Utilities Managing Director for Customer Sales, Bob Armstrong, said last night, "There will now be a long consultation process before Ofwat makes its decision in November 2004. We will enter a period when people can influence the outcome." Mr Armstrong admitted that the impact will be on customers who will ultimately have to fund what is required. It will be a lot for people to pay and clearly significant in terms of possible increases. Arguably, we pay the lowest in Europe for water and treatment services, and some people say we underpay and undervalue the resource. Currently, the North West has the fifth highest water bills, but Mr Armstrong admitted that the region could climb higher up the table under the proposed moves. There's also some very more interesting things in this document from the internet. One is about United Utilities' involvement with Bechtel, which is a big, massive company from America that makes power stations, secret military bases, chemical and weapons, factories, oil pipelines, etc. So we just wonder where our money is going if it's mixed up with such a big giant conglomerate. The other piece down there, water improvements mean fluoridation. Isn't it a rather odd coincidence that a rise in water prices is announced just as the government is about to vote on fluoridation? That is adding extra fluorixylic acid, which is the
poisonous agent that they use for water fluoridation schemes, to which I am utterly opposed. It contains many impurities. It's an industrial waste product from the superphosphate fertilizer industry. Impurities include lead, arsenic and other heavy metals. Frankly, I can't for the life of me understand how such a bizarre idea ever took hold, which is that you know, we will put medication in the water, you'll take however much you want, won't know your medical history, you'll take it for the rest of your life, and the reason you'll have to take it, whether you want it or not, is because some kids get tooth decay. Now, how crazy is that? And there are many other strategies, some of which we've adopted in Liverpool. There was a review which the government commissioned in 1999 and reported in October 2000 from York University, which found, firstly, that the evidence base for fluoridation was weak. Secondly, that the average benefit was a reduction in tooth decay of under 15%. Now, they've been claiming for years, the past 40 years, that the reduction in tooth decay is at least 50%. Well, it ain't true. They've lied to us. And in Liverpool, which is one of the target areas for this MAD strategy, 14.6% equates to an average per child of 1/3 of one tooth. 1/3 of one tooth. And for that, we should poison everyone's water.
Well, someone has to pay for the addition of this hazardous chemical to our water supply. And by the way, not only is there no evidence that fluoride prevents tooth decay, it has been shown to be very detrimental to human health, cancer, brittle bones, etc. What the health minister says we can drink bottled water if we don't like the taste of fluoride.
Now, I've asked our local Strategic Health Authority, and before them Liverpool Health Authority, how much fluoride am I, my family, my constituents already getting? And they can't tell me. And they can't tell me because they haven't bothered to find out. Now, I think if you're a public health official and you want to put this stuff in the water, you should be certain that it's safe. And the York Review said that safety couldn't be guaranteed because actually there's been no safety testing of hexafluorosilicic acid use in human beings. None. And secondly, you should be sure that it actually does what's claimed on the box, and it doesn't. I can't for the life of me understand why the government is so hell-bent on imposing this mad strategy and poisoning everyone's water, and I will be fighting tooth and nail to stop it.
Yes, we use it to wash down the cake we are eating because the bread has run out. Feeling uneasy? Then call your water supplier and tell them so.
I'm Councillor Paul Klein, I'm the Executive Member for Education on Liverpool City Council. I have a particular interest in fluoridation because I was my party's spokesperson on our Health Protection Subcommittee in 1993-94 when we were consulted by Liverpool Health Authority, and I felt it was my duty to investigate the ins and outs of this strategy. I had a completely open mind at the time, and the more I investigated, the more horrified I became that we were actually being asked to consider this, because I don't think it does what is claimed, and I don't think it's safe. If someone had stopped me in the street in 1993 before I investigated this and said, do you think we should put fluoride in the water because it's good for kids' teeth? If I was in a hurry, without thinking, I would probably say, sure, why not? It was only when I bothered to investigate it that I found out actually just how dangerous this is, and just how mad the strategy is. But it's got to be stopped.
What do we do now? I don't know, we're just starting to get interested in this water because I think everybody has been taking water for granted and don't realise the way we're being ripped off. How can we get a fairer system? What do we do to get justice and a fairer system of water and sewerage charges? Do we withhold our water payments like the poll tax activists withheld their poll tax? Or do we run our cold water 24 hours a day, 365 days a year? The second option is the easiest one to get away with and would have the biggest impact. What an impact chosen both options would make. Maybe they'd take notice of us then if we'd done this. No one's asking people to break the law, but these people, I think, are demanding that we break the law to get justice.